Hello and welcome to In the Lab. Now we have got another question and answer session. I'm Mr. Walker and this is my guest presenter.
Hi, I'm Ben and I'm from 7 Normandy.
Excellent, glad to have you with us. So let's go straight on with our questions. Now then Ben, what's our first question for today?
What is the difference between a food chain and a food web?
Aha, food chain and food web. Now do you know the difference? What do you think?
A food chain is multiple different animals eating each other.
Okay, multiple animals eating each other, and a food web
is the whole of all animals.
All the animals. I think you're pretty much there actually. Let's have a look at a picture. So a picture's on the screen now that you're looking at. This is a food chain. So just like you said, Ben, it's some animals eating each other, although they're not all animals, are they? Because it starts with the sun and then we've got the grass in this example. But it's a chain. It's one line of things that eat other things. So the second picture that's coming up now is going to show you what a food web looks like. And that's how everything interacts. So you might not have one chain, you might have about 5 different chains and various things cross-link with other chains. So you can see it gets quite complicated. And actually that's just a simple version. If we did the food web for the entire planet, we'd have thousands of species all eating each other all over the place. So that's the only difference. It's whether you just follow one line or whether you look at all the lines. Like a spider's web, all the lines, all the chains link together to make a big web. So that is the answer. Next question.
Why is the sky blue?
Why is the sky blue? Well, today it's not very blue, it's quite grey. But we'll ignore that. Why is the sky behind the clouds blue? Why is that? Any ideas, Ben? What do you think?
Because maybe it's in the middle of a rainbow. The light thing, so.
Okay, so blue's in a rainbow.
Through the atmosphere or something.
Ah, interesting. Well, do you know what? You're kind of getting there. You are kind of getting there because think about a rainbow. You have all the different colours of the rainbow and blue is one of those colours. So the light coming to us from the sun sends all the colours of the rainbow through our atmosphere and all of the different colours get scattered when they hit all of the gases and the particles around our planet. They get scattered by different amounts and blue light actually gets scattered much more than the other colours. So you see the blue light more than you see the other colours. And that's why the sky is blue. All the colours are getting through, but that particular wavelength of light is getting scattered more. Now I think you've got another question that kind of connects to that, haven't you? So what's our next question about the sky?
Why is the sky blue when we look out into space, but there is no blue when we look at Earth from outer space?
Okay, good question. So when we look out into space, you could do it now wherever you are, look out the window, you do see some blue as long as the clouds aren't blocking it. So we see blue, but imagine being on the moon or on the International Space Station or even further away. Why doesn't it look blue when you look back at the Earth? Well, the answer to that is it does still look blue. The atmosphere is actually quite thin. So I'm going to show you a picture now. Here is the Earth from space. Now you might say, okay, we can see lots of blue, but that's the sea. And we can see lots of green and kind of yellowy brown, and that's the land. And there's lots of white there, and there are the clouds. But why can't we see the blue sky like we can see from here? Well, the atmosphere is super duper duper thin. So if you look right around the edge of the Earth, there's actually a very, very thin line of blue that goes right the way around the outside. It's beyond the Earth and it's before space starts. So the atmosphere is incredibly thin. Again, have a look and you might just see that little line of blue going around the outside of the Earth. And that's the atmosphere that you're seeing now. When you look up, you're seeing that very thin line of blue. Now it seems quite big from where we are because it's quite a few kilometres thick. That's our atmosphere. But in comparison to the rest of the Earth, it's very, very thin. The next picture coming up on your screen shows this even better. You can see that if you're just above the surface of the Earth, and you're looking down on the Earth, you can see the atmosphere. It's a hazy line of blue, and it looks a bit thicker because you're closer to it. So that's why it is still there. The atmosphere does still look blue, but it's so thin compared to the planet. If you were out in space, you'd hardly be able to tell the difference between the Earth and where space begins, because it's a tiny line of blue out in space. So there you go. Right, next question.
How does the caterpillar turn into a butterfly?
How does the caterpillar turn into a butterfly? Right, Ben, your chance to shine. How does a caterpillar turn into a butterfly? Go for it.
Because it goes into a cocoon and then changes into it.
And then changes into it. You are kind of right. But did you know the word, if it's going to be a butterfly, it's chrysalis, and if it's going to be a moth, it's cocoon. Interesting, that, isn't it? Yes, there's the difference. But you are absolutely right that a caterpillar, we can't tell whether it's going to be a moth or it's going to be a butterfly. So it goes into a cocoon or a chrysalis, and what happens inside it is really quite disgusting. I bet you've never been taught this. The chrysalis is formed, or the cocoon is formed, and then the caterpillar, which is a very, very early stage butterfly or moth, it releases lots of digestive enzymes around it, and it digests itself. And it turns into a little caterpillar soup. And you might think, well, that can't be right. How does a butterfly come out of that? Well, there are little collections of cells that don't actually get broken down. Most of it would be if you went to a chrysalis, and please don't do this, but if you went to a chrysalis, if you found one and you broke it open, you just get caterpillar soup oozing out of it, because it would be at that stage where it's been digested, but it's not yet formed a butterfly. There are some small collections of cells that will eventually become all the body parts of a caterpillar, of a butterfly or a moth. So you've got a few cells that are going to become wings, and a few cells that are going to become feet, and a few that will become muscles and antennae, and all the other parts. They don't get digested, they just float around. They're so small you wouldn't see them. They get floated around, and then suddenly, once the soup has happened, they become activated, and they reproduce, and they form all the body parts, and a new creature comes out of it. And then when it bursts out, you get an amazing butterfly or moth. Quite disgusting. I bet nobody's told it to you like that, but that's what happens inside. Now, we've had butterflies in the past, and I'd like to show you a little link that's coming on the screen now, just to indicate how amazing this process is. Now, we might do it again in school, so keep your eyes open for us growing butterflies, but do have a look at this link, and you can see the butterflies actually emerging out of the chrysalis. We managed to catch it on camera. It was quite interesting, and it's to music, so it's nice and relaxing as you see it emerging. So do click on that link if you are interested. Now, have we done all of our questions for today?
Yes.
We have, except for the killer question. Okay, so the killer question for today, Ben, is this. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think and give me your answer. The question is this: does sound travel faster in space? Now, it doesn't actually say faster than what, so I'll change the question slightly. Does sound travel in space?
Yeah, because if like something loud happened,
Okay.
you would still hear it.
Would you know? Well, do you know what? On all of the science fiction things that we watch and all of the action films like Star Wars and Star Trek, you do have explosions and you do hear them even if you're outside, but actually you wouldn't hear a thing, because you need particles in the air for sound to be able to vibrate and bang into each other. That's how sound travels. So if you haven't got any sound out in space, if you haven't got any particles, there is no sound at all. It's absolutely silent. Now you can see things because light waves will travel even if there's no particles. They don't need particles. So that's why we can see the sun, and we can see Mars, and we can see the stars, and we can see all sorts of rockets out in space, but we can't hear a thing from out in space. We can hear stuff that happens in the atmosphere, so you can hear planes because the atmosphere is made of particles, but you can't hear beyond it. So that's an interesting question, but here's actually the killer question I was going to ask you. How fast does sound travel when it can travel? Can't travel out in space, but it can travel here on Earth, of course, because you can hear me now. How fast does sound travel? That's the first part. Oh, it's a double question. What do you think? Give me any speed. What do you think? Shall I help you a bit?
No.
Okay, he's working out. He's thinking carefully. It's going to be a good answer, this. What do you reckon? Are you going to give it me in miles per hour, like a car?
No, I was thinking like per second.
Per second? You can do it per second. You could
Maybe
do...
a metre per second.
Oh, a metre per second. So we know how big a metre is, probably about this big, I would say. Travels that fast in a second. Interesting. It's actually 330 times faster than that. It travels 330 of those metres, all in a line, every second. So if I shouted, it would go 330 metres in 1 second, and another 330 metres in another second. It's quite fast, isn't it? Now that, if you did that in the speed of a car, that would be 760 miles per hour. So imagine on the motorway, you're travelling top speed 70 miles an hour, or you shouldn't be going any faster. 70 miles an hour, 10 times faster than that is 700, and that's still not as fast as sound. So that's amazing, isn't it, really? Almost 11 times faster than your car. But here's the second part of the question. How fast does light travel? So we know how fast sound travels. How fast does light travel? And I want this answer in miles per hour, so we're thinking about it like cars travelling. What do you reckon? Is it faster or slower than sound?
Faster.
It's faster than sound, you're right, definitely is. How fast do you think it is? So we've got 760 miles an hour for sound. What's light? What do you reckon?
500 miles per hour.
Well, that would be slower, wouldn't it? So it's going to have to be higher than 760. But give me a higher number. What do you think? A bit higher? Oh, he's really thinking.
Million?
You're going for 1,000,000 miles an hour. Well, it's actually much, much faster than that. It's actually 186,000 miles per second, not just per hour, per second. So imagine that, 186,000 miles, which is incredibly big, every second, not even per hour. In fact, light travels so fast, we normally record the speed of light in light years, how fast light can travel in a year. And we talk about stars being 1 or 2 or 50 or 1,000,000 light years away. Now, you know how fast it travels in a second? Imagine how fast that would travel, how far that would travel in a year. And then when we're talking millions of light years, the stars are incredibly far away. And yet their light is still reaching us. And it probably set off years, tens of years, thousands and millions of years ago. And it's only just getting to us now because it's that far away. Incredible, isn't it? Well, I think we've had some really good questions there, and you've given me some great answers, Ben. So it's time to say bye for now. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Come on, you can trust me. I'm harmless.
Hey, remember to like and subscribe to In the Lab.
Like and subscribe to In the Lab.
Like and subscribe.